Good morning, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. I was reading this article about how state and local governments were buying back their own debt, and I thought to myself, man, this doesn't make any sense. I mean, during a time when people are losing their jobs, people are asking for forbearance on their houses or on their mortgages anyway. The revenue that the state and local governments are getting in is dropping dramatically, and yet they go off and they buy back their own debt. It just doesn't make any sense to me until I read an article about how the Federal Reserve is going to be stepping in and buying up all this municipal bonds. Yeah, so that's what they were doing. They were front running the Fed. See, when the Federal Reserve stated that they were going to be coming in and buying up all these bonds, now all of a sudden people have like a buyer for these bonds. What happens to the interest rates? They drop. What happens to the price of the bonds? They go up. So as these municipalities were buying back their own debt, it was during a time when investors were trying to get into cash. So they're dumping these municipal bonds, causing the interest rates to rise and the price of these bonds to drop. And the municipalities, the states and the local governments, they stepped in and started buying these bonds at a cheaper price because the interest rates were rising. And now I thought, man, that's a good deal. They're trying to offset their debt, trying to extinguish their debt, really. But that's not what was happening, at least not the idea that I'm getting from it, because when the Federal Reserve stepped in and said that we're going to be buying municipal bonds, my idea is that they were front running the Fed. They were just trying to get a hold of these cheap bonds and then sell them back to the Federal Reserve at a higher price. You know, the IMF has stated that we're going to go into a Great Depression. Probably as bad, if not worse. Well, I don't know if they said worse, but they said as bad as the Great Depression back up 90 years ago. The St. Louis Fed has stated that they project that we are going to run into 32% unemployment. Things are going to get incredibly tough out there. And during this Great Depression that we're about ready to experience, the Federal Reserve is shoving out an intense amount of debt onto the people, out onto the governments. They're buying everything. They're buying government bonds, they're buying municipalities, they're buying corporate bonds, they're buying junk bonds. These junk bonds, I mean, it's just how it sounds. They're called junk bonds because the people who are issuing these bonds or who have these bonds for sale have bad credit. They have been downgraded. And the fallen angels are people who have just recently been downgraded from like triple B status investable grade down to junk status down. Now they're under the triple B. And the Federal Reserve is like, here, you got bad credit? Yeah, go ahead. We'll buy your stuff since nobody else will. Got it. Better do something rather than nothing. But this is what they said that they were going to do. They said that they were going to go into massive quantitative easing. And this is it, man. I mean, we are definitely going into some massive quantitative easing. When this is all said and done, I can't imagine how much they will have purchased. And I have a feeling that this probably won't be going in to the real estate market like it did before. I don't think it's going to inflate the asset prices like they are intending it would, giving people the wealth effect. I mean, unless they go straight up and start buying stocks, which I guess they could do. I mean, I was surprised that they were buying the municipal bonds, but if they go in to start buying stock, then maybe we'll see some asset prices inflate. But with all the people who are going to be unemployed here in the future, in the massive amount of money that they're going to be printing out and shoving out there as far as debt goes, I just see this happening in the consumer prices. I'm assuming food is going to get very expensive here before too long, especially with all these farmers out there who have had their supply chain broken down when they were supplying restaurants, and now all these restaurants are shut down. The industry that provided, all the consumable things for restaurants has broken down as well. And it's hard to kind of wrap your head around, but it's not like these farmers can just shift to retail. They have to build new supply chains. They have to build new partnerships. So, yeah, the IMF is stating that we're going to go into a Great Depression. St. Louis Fed, 32% unemployment. And the Federal Reserve is going to buy up everything that has anything remotely close to a debt attached to it. Uneducated Economist. You guys let me know.